So one of the things that is very vital for us to keep in remembrance is giving thanks and being grateful for all that the Spirit of God do for us, the deliverances that He delivered us from. I'm out here, may not. So it's always good to be thankful to God, to be grateful with what the Spirit of God calls to preach. Because I always tell people that it could be worse. It could be extremely worse than what you think is bad right now, right? So you think that your life is hard. You think that your life is without purpose, right? You may think that your life doesn't have any kind of value whatsoever. But if you're here, if you're here in this world and God created you and you have a functionality essentially, uh, you need to understand that you are not here on accident. You and I, we're not here on accident. We're here on purpose. The main thing that people fail to realize is that they are to surrender their lives to God so that they could find out the purpose of their being, right? So a lot of people think that they're here to fulfill their own purpose, but rather we're here to fulfill the purposes of God. And you have to be sensitive enough to be able to execute that calling successfully because most people are dying in sin, right? Most people are losing their souls forever because they either fail to realize the purpose of them being here or they fail to surrender their lives to God. So that's very critical. That's very critical for all of us to go to God and get our lives in order first and foremost because sin brings disorder, sin brings chaos, sin does not benefit you in no way possible. You may think it benefits you simply because you're seemingly allowed to do what you want to do, but in all actuality, the Spirit of God is going to judge everybody according to the things that they do. And so you have to figure out why God called you, figure out what was the purpose of the Spirit of God creating you. It's not for you to fulfill your own purposes, not for you to fulfill your own will, right? Because that's what John tells us in John 1. He says, for those that are the sons of God, he said that no, we weren't born for the will of man, after the will of man, right? We weren't born for the will of man. We weren't born for the will of the flesh, but for God. We were born for the will of God. We all were born for God's will to be fulfilled, whatever that may be, whatever that entails. You are obligated to figure out that. And if you just want to go ahead and do what you want to do and live your life how you think that you should live it because you think that it brings you pleasure, peace, and prosperity, but it only brings death, right? Live that way. The word of God admonishes us to continue to do the things that we've been doing, right? For those of us that's holy, let us be holy, right? For those of us that's righteous, let us remain righteous. For those of us that are wicked, remain wicked. For those that's filthy and ungodly, remain filthy and ungodly. Hey, do what you want to do. That's what Solomon tells. Hey, if you choose, you can either figure out the will of the maker, the creator, or you can actually choose to do what you want to do. But just know everything that you do, God is gonna bring into judgment. Whatever it is. That's what Solomon tells us in Ecclesiastes. Do what it is that you want to do because God is going to judge everything ultimately. So um, we're trying to learn to return back to the ancient paths, all right? The way that we should walk in, the way of holiness, the way of righteousness, because now, today's time, everyone is it seems like everyone is finding a new way to go to heaven, but there's only one way. And the Bible specifically tells us that Jesus is the only way to heaven. He is the only way to the Father because that's what he came to do. He came to reconcile you and I back to God the Father because sin is what separated us from the Father. So Jesus came to reconcile our relationship back with God and reconcile the world back to God, cleanse and wash the world full of sin and blood and demons. Yeah, he came to do all of that. So you you weren't born for the will of man. You weren't born for the will of the flesh, but of God. You were born for the will of God. You were born, I were born, we were born for the will of God. So even in that, you should consider like, oh, my life is not my own then. Because my life is not my own, that means I must give my life to the one that owns it. Because whether you like this or not, the Bible is going to play out in your life, either for good or bad. Right? It's going to play out in your life eventually. And it's playing out in the lives of many people. And they don't realize that. So my admonishment to you is to give your life to God, man. You're only you're only hurting yourself by remaining